Hey, it's Erica. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be discussing some of the issues with Colleen Ballinger. Now I realize a lot of people pronounce her name Colleen, but from where I'm from, I've always been taught to say it as Colleen, but I will try my best to not slip up, but I cannot make any promises. But I came up with this, with the idea for this video while I can't speak today. Because I watched a video by someone else, and I will link her channel down below. Her name is Alayna, and in that video she compared Colleen Ballinger to Shane Dawson, and I thought it was a pretty interesting video. So I wanted to do a little bit of digging myself and come up with some of my thoughts on it. So if you don't know who Colleen Ballinger is, she's been on YouTube since like 2008, I think, which is a really long time, and she is probably, I don't know if at this point I would say best known for her character Miranda Sings, because I do believe Colleen herself has like made a name for herself. Like she's been on Broadway and stuff, and she has her own channel, but she is best known for her character Miranda Sings. And if you don't know who that is, I'm sure you do. She like wears smudged lipstick and little barrettes in her hair and like super high-waisted pants that like come up to here. So yeah, I'm sure you know who she is, but if you don't, she basically posts bad covers of songs, so she sings badly on purpose for comedic value. And while on the surface that probably sounds innocent enough, there are still some controversies, not only surrounding that character but also surrounding Colleen herself. So I guess I'll start with one of her most recent controversies. If you don't know Colleen Ballinger, and it's really hard for me to keep saying her name like that because I just want to say Colleen like I normally would. But hopefully I'll be able to continue saying it that way.
Let's listen to this.
Number 1 says, if you walk out of the house with 2 babies, people will ask how they were conceived. That's very weird. They're saying that everyone is ridiculously interested in knowing if you had IVF. Like if it was like
it's so common with that.
Yeah. So when you take the babies
out for a stroll, people are going to be
you,
like,
"You broken?" I'm just kidding. No one's broken if they can't do that.
Oh yeah.
But she is currently pregnant, and on a podcast with her husband, she made a joke about like people that struggle with infertility. Like she's like, people ask her like how she conceived her babies, and she said the normal way, because I'm not broken, which is an extremely like insensitive and just not a very good thing to say. And right after that, she's like, oh, I'm just joking. I would never say that. But it's like, but you just did say that. Like, what? So yeah, and Adam McIntyre made a whole video on that, so I will link his video down below. Hopefully, if not, just search Adam McIntyre, and it should pop up because it's one of his more recent videos. But so anyway, that was very problematic, and a lot of people called her out on that. And then she's like, well, I'm just joking. And it's like, yeah, but you may be just joking, but just because you're joking doesn't mean your joke won't hurt other people. So I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind in this video, because a lot of people that offend her say, oh, well, she's just joking, like, you who don't get her sense of humor. And, like, that's fine, but you still need to apologize and realize that just because you think it's... I just hit on myself. Just because you think it's a joke doesn't mean it won't hurt other people. So yeah, and on the topic of Adam McIntyre, if you don't know, and there's some controversy surrounding him as well, but I personally like Adam McIntyre. I mean, I do think a lot of his content borders more on like drama rather than commentary, but I still enjoy a lot of his content. But he was like a super fan of Colleen Ballinger, and so he would like text her or message her in some way, because I don't believe they can text since he's from the UK and she's from the US, but in some way they were like messaging back and forth when he was a minor and when she was in like her late 20s, early 30s, which is kind of odd, first of all, but also during some type of live stream, Colleen was like giving away some of her clothes and stuff to fans, clothes that she bought, but for some reason or another she decided she didn't want to keep them, so she would send them to fans, which in and of itself is not inherently problematic. But then, what is on my shirt? I don't know. But then Adam, who again was a minor at the time, he like won something or whatever, and when she asked him what he wanted, he said, and he said this jokingly, but honestly, I don't really think it matters, and I'll get into that later, but he said he wanted like this lingerie set that he had, and the reason why I don't think it matters whether Adam was joking or not, because at the end of the day, he was a minor and she wasn't. So as the adult, it is your responsibility to be like, yeah, no, that's not appropriate. So like, apparently Colleen forgot to send him that lingerie set, so he kept like texting her and being like, oh, can you please send it to me? And so she sent it to him, and then his parents like flipped out because obviously it's inappropriate that a grown woman is sending lingerie to a boy who's in high school. Like, that's really gross, and I don't understand how that's a joke. I'm like, ew, please don't do that. So there was that, but also then Colleen allowed Adam to take over Miranda Sings' social media for a few days because it was a trial to see if she wanted to hire Adam. But then Adam posted some inappropriate and offensive jokes, so then Colleen took the social media away from him and said, I'm sorry, but this isn't going to work out, which is fine, but I'm like, why would you let someone take over your social media without checking ahead of time what they're going to post? Like, I realize when you're that big of a celebrity, like, a lot of times you hire people to control your social media. Like, even me with my like 2,000 followers on Instagram, I have a hard time keeping up with DMs, so I can't imagine if I have like 1 million followers. But anyway, a lot of people will hire people to manage their social media for them, but it's like, I feel like you should know ahead of time what they're going to write, and you should like let them know this is the voice of the brand that I want to be shown. So I would think you would discuss that before you would just give over your social media. So I find that very problematic, and she kind of like inadvertently let Adam take the heat for that. Like, even though she said, well, it's my responsibility at the end of the day, she kept reinforcing the idea that it wasn't her that posted those things. And I feel like that's kind of being like taking accountability, but not really, which is not okay. And that's pretty much it for the controversies surrounding Adam McIntyre and Colleen Ballinger. And now I think I'm going to get into a bit of like the controversial and inappropriate storylines that Colleen wrote for Miranda. Now, apparently, I couldn't find out what age Miranda is supposed to be. I looked it up online and it didn't really give me a straight answer, so I'm just going to assume that she's supposed to be the same age as Colleen, so she's probably in her 30s right now. But Colleen made Miranda have this uncle named Uncle Jim, and they have a very inappropriate relationship, like INC. You know what I mean. That kind of inappropriate relationship where they're always kind of making jokes back and forth, like very, like basically innuendos, like saying that they're attracted to each other without really saying it, which is extremely gross, especially considering that Colleen's fan base is mostly children, so to like have that kind of a storyline for children is disgusting, and it is not okay. And the way this kind of mirrors Shane Dawson's behavior and his problematic past is, if you who don't know, Shane had like this puppet, and the puppet's name was Millie, and she was supposed to be a child who was ABUSED, and so she would always be making very like adult and inappropriate type jokes, because at such a young age she was exposed to horrific things, so she talks about things that she shouldn't know about. So basically Shane Dawson with his puppet Hilly, he's making fun of this real issue that real children are unfortunately subjected to, and like Colleen, Shane's audience is pretty young too, so it's really like basically the same thing, although I don't think Miranda Sings is meant to be a minor. It's still very gross, because I would assume that her relationship to her uncle has always been that way, and that's disturbing. So yeah, and now I'm going to go a bit into something that I haven't seen covered anywhere on YouTube. I have seen an article about it, but that's about it. So I'm going to go into a bit of the ableist implications of the character Miranda Sings, and I will link down the article that I was able to find, because I typed in Google Miranda Sings ableist to like see what would come up, because I was like, I kind of feel like there are some ableist implications, but I didn't know if it was just me, so I was kind of relieved to see that somebody was saying something about this. But while it's never outright said that Miranda has some sort of a his ability, it's implied by like the way she talks, like she has a speech impediment, and also just the way she acts and the way she's not very aware of a lot of social cues. And I just think using a character like that as the butt of a joke is extremely ableist, especially when you think about how disabled people are often made fun of, and they're the butt of the jokes. And also, she doesn't really have the best spelling, so on her social media she'll always have things spelled wrong, and I just think that's kind of ableist. And it's like, are you not able to make jokes without poking fun at a marginalized group or at like a very serious topic. It's like I don't really like that's lazy comedy in my opinion, because I believe you can still be funny while also being respectful and not offending other people. And lastly, I just want to say, and I'm sure if you came here to comment this, you probably already commented it and then left my video, but in case you're still here and you're about to comment this, like, I realize Colleen is currently pregnant, but that doesn't mean that she can't face criticism for her actions. Like, she can't use that as a shield, and her fans should not be using that as a shield and using it to like dismiss criticism, being like, oh, she's pregnant, so you can't say anything bad about her. Like, that's not how that works. Especially when she continues to say offensive things like what she said about people that struggle with infertility. Like, she doesn't then get to go, oh well, I'm pregnant, so you can't really say anything bad about me. Like, no. So if you're about to comment that, then don't bother. It's a waste of time, because it's not a very good argument, because you're not actually arguing any of the points that I made, but instead telling me that none of my arguments matter just because Colleen is currently pregnant. So don't bother doing that, or do, because engagement is good for the algorithm, whether it's negative or positive engagement. So feel free to write that. But thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, or if this resonated with you, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you have not already, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.